All right, we're live.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone. Welcome to another very interesting and fascinating episode of Beyond Code, where we deep dive into the world of technology leaders and we try to understand what they are doing, what they have done in their career so far to reach the stage where they are, right? So first of all, a big thank you to all our loyal listeners who have tuned us right now. And this is the 21st episode of Beyond Code. We have been doing now 20 episodes have gone, and I really want to thank you all for making this far into 20 episodes. And our mission is very simple, right? To bring you some in-depth conversation with engineering leaders from various industries and geography. We not only aim to unlock their wisdom, which they have accumulated over decades of their life by providing you not just with some inspiration, but also from some sort of actionable insights and work to enhance your career, right? So do follow us on various platforms, because this right now we are live on LinkedIn. We'll also have this session put up on YouTube channel, and you'll have a gooder version, a better version of the audio on Spotify. So don't forget to follow us there. And obviously, with this conversation that you have been listening so far, you'll be having smaller shots, smaller insights, smaller snippets of this conversation put up on all of our associate channels, right? So yeah, do follow us there. Thanks for tuning in from across the globe, whosoever is listening to us. As you have noticed that in previous episodes of ours, we have covered multiple factors, like and especially we have tried to cover micro factors from topics like culture, people, processes, and technology stacks. So we try to discuss that which influences your career in tech. So the idea of this episode is to try to understand or try to see from a larger, a macro factor, right? At how macro factors shapes up your career, right? And who better than us? Who better than someone who is having more than 2 decades of experience in tech space, uh, who started off as a developer in in a IT services firm, and now he's working as VP of a multi-million-dollar company, right? So we'll talk a lot of stuff, but allow me to welcome Vinod Jayakumar. Vinod, thank you so much for tuning in and agreeing to share your life, your insight uh, for us. And obviously, the idea is to uh, get a lot of wisdom out of these conversations. So before I just hand it over to you, we just spoke before that, and we touched upon an insight that first it's about information, then it's about knowledge, then it's about wisdom. So the idea is to convert your not maybe all of your wisdom of your 2 decades, but yes, some part of that as a wisdom to our listeners, and maybe they can draw some inspiration out of these, right? So, thank you so much again. Thank you so much for tuning in. Any opening comments from your side, Vinod?
Well, firstly, a very good evening to everyone. And Amitesh, thank you so much for having me here. And thank you for the wonderful introduction. And I'm really thrilled with the efforts that your team is putting up to bridge the skill gap in the industry. And I'm pretty excited to be associated with your team and to learn more how you guys are trying to engage with the community that you have built and how it will be beneficial to the industry at large. So pretty excited to hear out all that, and also at the same time happy to share my experience for the last 2 decades in the industry, which could help anybody who's just trying to start journey in the tech.
Certainly, I think the audience who have tuned us right now, they'll also be asking questions to us, and whosoever is
Sure.
listening, feel free to add your questions in the comment box. We will take all your questions, all the relevant ones, at the end of the session, once we are done with understanding or having that discussion with Vinod over his, career, lot of things that are there as a pointer to me. So I am quite excited, and so just to start off, it has become a kind of a norm to kind of start off with understanding how you were as a kid, because that gives a lot of insight, or maybe not always, but more so often than not, right? It gives a lot of insight and to what you have achieved in your career or not, right? So how take us through your childhood, how you were as a kid. Were you the ones who, the sincere ones, or always the notorious one? How take us through that part of your life,
Sure, sure. Sure, sure. I was a pretty normal kid, like any other
Mhm.
kid in Indian schools and other places. Like I was a very inquisitive kid for sure.
Nice, nice.
I used to break open all my electronic gadgets at home, like radio and tape recorder, to see how things are working inside. So I was that curious, and I had my own bashing from my dad for that. And at the same time, I was too much into sports.
Mm-hmm.
I loved sports, and I loved any game which is fun. I used to play, and yeah, and I used to be sincere as well. I mean, I used to be sincere to my school homeworks with whatever I used to do. It used to be fun, but yeah, inquisitiveness is something which I still carry. I do have a lot of inquisitiveness too. Of course, I don't break open everything. Of course, I
Mm-hmm.
do it in a structured way. Yeah, yeah, that's how I used to be.
Yeah, so from breaking opening the radio to breaking opening uh, the codes and all, we have reached a long way, right? Yeah. No, I think
Yeah,
it's a very there is always a pattern that I have seen while speaking to a lot of leaders, right there. There is always a sense of curiosity that you cannot teach to to larger folks, right? You have to, and that comes from maybe their upbringing, comes from the fact that they are from a family where curiosity or inquisitiveness, as you have pointed, Vinod, these play a larger role in developing you as a human being, and obviously when you are uh, in an industry, say for example tech, where things evolve very fast, right? Things change
right.
very fast. uh, these kind of traits are always key in taking you places, right? And just to kind of understand, because curiosity is one thing, but you come to you are now in a tech sector, right? Where
Yeah.
as I mentioned, things are very volatile, things are very fast paced, things are changing quite frequently. At what point in your early life, or in maybe are there any incident that hinted you take the technology route, or you discovered yourself that yes, this is something, tech is something that you feel belonged, or you want to shape up your career uh, in tech, right? So what was those maybe incidents you can point out, Vinod, or what was those areas, or maybe sometimes people, a movie can change their life, maybe an incident can change their life. So what was that in your life which pointed towards tech being one of your strong suit?
Right. So, okay. So I actually, early in my school days, right,
Mm-hmm.
I joined a computer course in my summer holidays. And those days, it was a privilege to get into a computer course because a lot of them used to spend time in maybe a swimming pool, or having fun traveling. But my father was in the army, so he had his own discipline which he wanted me to learn something in summer holidays. So he put me into a computer course. I was not, unhappy about it, but I was excited to see, as I was always curious to see, how it is. So when I actually got in, the faculty who was there was pretty interesting person.
Mm-hmm.
He first showed me a interesting game
Yeah.
on this. It was a CLI game where I was trying to play the snake wala game. It was fun,
Right.
and I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
wow. So computer is not just studies; it's some fun too. And that's the first day I was just doing that, and the subsequent days it was really interesting because a lot of new things is what I learned, and that was one at the starting point where I developed interest in computers, and after spending a little more time I learned basic DOS and the basic coding programs there, and that actually glued me to
Mhm.
continue the tech journey. And after sometimes I also joined a proper course in aptech, which
Yeah.
really helped me to set the foundation to explore more. And that's when I started even building few softwares. And I think by the college, during my graduation days, there was this sci company,
Yeah.
Satyam company,
Yep.
who
Yes.
used
Yes.
to, yeah. So I used to use internet in the cyber cafes. So, but it was very annoying to find at times that the chap who was, owning that cyber cafe, he used to, send people out just before the time, right? If I pay for 30 minutes, he used to, say that in 20 minutes the time is up, but how do you actually keep time, right? So that's where I actually developed a software to keep a timer
Wow.
going on whenever you log in to that particular machine, and it actually tells you the right machine, and there is no somebody coming and chasing you out, right?
Yeah.
So I actually developed that software and tried to market it also. Maybe the entrepreneur bug hit me pretty early there, so it was very, now when I look back it's very funny for me to even uh, do something like that. But yeah, it was fun, and I did try
Mhm.
approaching multiple cafes to sell my software at that time, so that
Yeah.
was hilarious actually.
No. I think it sounds really interesting because these are the small, things that really shows what someone is trying to do or someone is built up of, right? Seeing small problems, seeing smaller nudges here and there, and you know, uh, 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 you know, s- sometimes the smallest problem can. Now I think now we see there are companies built on tracking softwares, right? Where
Yeah,
they are not just only tracking time, they're just tracking what you are doing, maybe what uh, uh, maybe PDFs you are reading, what websites you're reading, how much time you have spent on emailing, how much time you have spent on, say, uh, talking to people, what's your productivity, how much is your of your 8 hours or 9 hours are productive, right? So you never know, right?
yeah,
The software you are trying to build just to track time, maybe you could have been a bigger one, right? So you always connect, maybe working backwards in your life, and that's when you see the way your curious or your inquisitiveness, right? It has, built in a sense of it has brought you an entrepreneur flavor to you, right? And that have helped maybe, in your entire journey, right? So I'll just continue with that theme only, where we are trying to
sure.
understand how exciting or how important it becomes for someone and to be curious, right? And it's not a trait that you can force someone to be. I can't force someone, to be curious. No, you become curious, right? It's an innate ability to understand or be aware of your surroundings or your environment, right? So for you, because it is an important trait, I just want to kind of pick your brains on how important is, in your opinion, how important it is to be curious, who is just starting up in the early stages of career. And can you relate some of the incidents which you had in your early stages of your career, maybe when you were just starting up with one of the
Sure.
services firm, right? So can you just point out to our viewers that how curiosity is very important, and what
Yeah,
are those incidents that you feel made you uh, what you are right now in early stages of your career?
sure. No, I think curiosity is good, but everything is in balance.
Yeah,
Imbalance is always good, right? Curiosity kills the cat. So
correct.
it
Yeah,
can also drain your energy if you're not putting it in right direction, right?
right.
So I can be curious about coding, I can be curious about cooking, I can be curious about running, right? But if I
Mhm.
can I do everything in one go? No, right?
Mhm.
So that's what you want. Probably somebody who's starting early need to really prioritize if it's like, real passion
Mhm.
in tech. Maybe they want to apply their curiosity there, and then try to maybe read further to how they can convert their curiosity into a more productive outcome. By applying their readings, right? I think that can be a very, very, a basic approach to start with. Um, I can even, quote some examples in terms of when I was getting too curious for unwanted things.
Mhm.
Like when I started my career, I was so curious that I used to spend nights to, break open the code and try to see how things are working, because the big companies are running on these software. So I was really,
Mhm.
really curious. But in the process of doing that, I was really, really, turning my days into unproductive days because I was spending too much time at work. And at times when I was like overproductive, I used to
Mhm.
also try to see what my peers are doing, their modules, their projects, how things are working there. It might be a good learning up to some extent, but after that it's just a time not well utilized, right?
Right.
So I think the crux is to funnel your curiosity into the right direction is very, very important.
Yeah, I think that's where the role of mentor comes into play, right? And
Right, right.
how because you rightly pointed out, that you should read stuff because it gives you a perspective where to prioritize your your curiosity, right? Because uh, sometimes someone is very passionate about something, but that passion may not be at the right time at the right place, right? So you have to be really be aware of what you are trying to do, and that's where you should be talking to a lot of people, a lot of senior folks, a lot of folks who have been there, done that, right? And that will give you maybe a larger perspective of what you want to really become, which uh, you know which maybe domain to go, right? Someone is maybe
Sure,
very excited about right now, the buzzwords are AI, the buzzwords are EV, AI, right? So you'll have to always talk to someone who can guide you. Yes, these are not actually the buzzwords, they are here to stay, right? Maybe a couple of years back it was IoT, things like that, right? Now they have died down, not because they are not relevant, but still they are very relevant, but the buzz has gone off from them, right? So someone needs to kind of whosoever is starting them, someone needs to uh, open up these areas to them. Yeah, these are the buzzwords, these are here to stay, these are not here to stay, right? So it's very
yeah,
important to whomsoever is listening to kind of follows practice of reading up, talking to people, and obviously podcasts like this will really help you in kind of giving you an insight and not be myopic about your decision, right? So just to continue on that, just want to kind of understand from your perspective that while you were doing all these things, right, while you were being curious with lot of multiple facets of tech at that point of time, what made you choose or what made you bring BFSI as a domain? Because that becomes a we are getting a lot of questions from our our viewers and listeners, and especially from people who are in their early stages of career, which domain
right,
to choose, right? And
right.
because that has a lot to do on how the economy behaves, how the market behaves, right? So just want to understand or bring in your
Sure.
perspective that what made you choose BFSI as a segment, and if it's an added question from my end, and if you were to choose a domain as a career, what are the pointers or what are the parameters that you should be seeing in current from current standpoint?
Sure, sure. So the way it started for me, to be
Mhm.
honest, I didn't have any such preference that I should be working in this domain when I started. I had little choice, right? All I wanted was to have a career in a programming world, right? I used to love coding in Java, and that's what I wanted to make my career at. but nobody would just pay you for doing some program, which is, like in college, we build some DS
Projects,
algorithms, right?
yes. Yeah.
So typically, when I realized when I started my career that okay, you use Java, but then you build enterprise grade softwares for businesses, small, big, and large businesses to give a better customer experience or to run their business smoothly, right? So there are many different businesses which were adopting technology, but then my innate nature was my inclination was towards finance because probably I was more curious to know how currency moves and how you can make money just by making somebody write some program. So that was the connection that I found. They say that my mojo was to find that,
Mhm.
and that's I was lucky and fortunate to work in some of the in my earlier stages. I got an opportunity to work with supply chain and finance related BFSI related projects, and it was interesting to see how a small bug introduced by a developer can actually
Mhm.
bring down a business, right? And that's when the responsibility of deploying a technology to a business becomes very very high. And that actually made me to not only just learn technology but also to learn the domain for which I'm deploying the technology, right? And the fact that I was more exposed to the BFSI projects as it came to my plate in the early days of my career, I
Mhm.
started, focusing more on that. After spending some time on that, I was really hooked to BFSI projects because it was very, very interesting and it's very vast also. Like
Mhm.
I've worked in like capital markets, trade finance, and core banking, asset management. So all these things are, vast subjects in itself, right? So every new product that we developed, a new project that we were engaged with, we always got a new things to learn, right? Technology can be same, it can keep changing also. I mean, nobody pays for technology, it's the solution that you bring to the table to solve a particular problem is what the clients are paying for, right? So I think the fundamentals of technology, if you have, and the ability to adapt to new domain is a very good combination for anybody who's starting their career.
Right. So what you suggest is focus on your core strengths in
Yes,
tech perspective generally,
yes,
and not look out for being very uh, 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 picky in terms of domain, because domain
yes,
more or less will evolve. There are new domains that are coming up, right? We haven't seen like a quick e-commerce as a domain right now. It's popping up
yeah,
everywhere, right? So the idea is to equip yourself with
yes,
anything or everything that you want to do in a particular tech area, right?
absolutely,
And a domain will fall into place, because you'll ultimately, when you grow in your career, you'll have to uh, pick and choose a particular domain, but the
right,
underlying tech more or less will be the same, right? The problem
absolutely,
solving capability of that tech,
yes,
the scalability of that tech, right? That more or
yes.
less will remain the same.
For example,
Mhm.
see, like a decade back, we could not have imagined that there would be an app for a person to deliver your food to your doorstep, right? Now, and nobody would imagine that you would have a app for booking your rides to commute, right? Now the mobility itself is a big domain now, right? If you want to study, right? Supply chain, right? Nobody would imagine that, okay, just we used to just send parcels to India Post, right?
Mhm.
But now you have zillion options. Now you can track everything on on your app. So that itself is a another logistics is another space. So things will evolve, right? Everywhere you
Yes.
will find problems, but the technology that you keep applying is going to be pretty much the fundamentals are going to be same. The the variations of technology will keep happening. That's ever growing, you can't stop that. But I think if you have the fundamentals right, you can solve any problem in any domain.
Right. Yep. Again, I think we just want to summarize what you mentioned is focus on your core strengths, and focus on your base, right? Because if you are early in your career, maybe 2 3 years experience or even 4 years experience, right? domain will not be a huge factor, but obviously what kind of problems you have solved in a particular domain and how you have used technology to solve that particular problem, that will become important for you, right? And there's one more challenge we know that we have been seeing uh, across developers and software engineers, right, in particular, that they are not very good at uh, portraying themselves, or maybe I'll use the word like selling themselves, right, to folks, right? Because obviously, generally, as we were talking before this podcast was live, that people are, especially tech leaders or tech folks at the software developers, they're a little bit low on their articulation, right? They are lacking that how do you want to articulate themselves that yes, this is my strong suit, right? So do you think that selling is one thing that everyone, developer, non-developer, they should know, or they should at least understand how to kind of market themselves well, right? And because you are doing this, a similar role from a tech perspective when you're working with one of your past companies, right? So do you want to kind of put some light to our audience right now, that how important it is for them to kind of be articulate, be more outspoken when you are expressive, right? When you are speaking about themselves and their skills.
Yeah, sure. No, that's a very good point you brought up. What I've seen in the young students is, some are very very expressive in terms of what they have in their mind. They speak up and they are very very articulative about it. But some, maybe lack of words or confidence. This especially I've seen, people who are from maybe tier 2, 3 cities, who feel a little intimidated when they have to explain what they know. But the reality is, like, they would have, they would know their
Mm,
subjects very well, but just because they're not able to express or articulate it in a right way because of
mm,
other reasons. you know I mean, the labeling is like, okay, this person is maybe not very aware of his technical skills, right? But I think that's where it's important to uh, you know hone your interpersonal skills and your vocabulary, and try to see how you can articulate what you want to explain. It could be as simple as, if you want to explain somebody about NVC pattern, right?
mm,
That's something, if you want to explain, just try to practice and see how you would like to write down that, right? Maybe in a page or two, and that would bring more clarity of thought in your head, and also you will get more words to explain to somebody. And I think those kind of initiatives to develop one's abilities would greatly help him to explain what he has learned, what he or she has learned, right? And also, it's also important for people, at an early stage of their career, to interact with peers, and to interact with their mentors or seniors whom they are in touch with, to understand and learn how they are communicating, or how are they solving the problems for their clients, right? Just because a problem is, I can share, the typical problem statements which comes from customers can be very very vague,
mm,
right? They might just say, I want this. But as a developer or as a technical leader, it's very difficult if you don't decipher that and try to communicate back that what is possible and what is not, right? So that becomes very challenging, and that's where I think constant communication and learning from your peers and seniors becomes very very important.
right. I think that was a bigger problem, when the pandemic happened, right? And people were all working from home. So it was a huge challenge from people who were just starting up, right? Because for us, a larger learning happened when I was like early in my career. A larger learning happened in the offices when I was interacting with folks at how did you solve this problem? What did you do to maybe understand the actual root cause of this, right? So a lot of learning happened with interaction, co-location, and all this stuff, right? Which was, I mean, it was absolutely missing when this pandemic happened, right? And that's where this entire problem it stems from the fact that we'll have to be surrounded by people when you are early in your careers, because your advisors, your thought process will build as per people who you are surrounded by, right? And that's what I think. It's always, there's a saying that uh, if if you are in a room full of people and you are the smartest one, you change that room because there's nothing to learn in that room, right? uh, so you always surround people who can add value to your life, both in terms of, right, if you're a developer, if you're a software engineer, obviously you'll have that technical competency coming in, right? But there are other facets of life that will come in, maybe add from how you want to present yourself, add from how you want to articulate a problem, right? And maybe as simple as that, how you want to listen to a problem, because that becomes a very important fact of your life, right? If you're not listening well, it will be even difficult for you to articulate the problem or maybe solve that problem, right? So listening skills again become very important when you are trying to communicate it. And so fantastic, I think, well said, when it becomes very, very, very important for all the folks who are listening to us right now. Be someone who practice your articulation, practice your script, because you should have a lot of words in your mind before you speak, right? And maybe you'll fail once or twice, but when you grow up in your career, this will eventually come in handy while you're talking to clients, to businesses, to your own internal team, to your own subordinates, and to your own peers. It's an essential skill, and this is not a skill to be not looked at, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think first thing is there should be no fear, even if you're at the
Perfect.
early
Yeah.
stage of your career. Uh, there should not be any fear. And see, everybody understands in the industry that five fingers are not alike, right? Every person will have their own strengths and weaknesses, including the leaders, you, me, everyone, right? So first thing is cut out the fear, right?
Mm,
And we are not native English speakers. I think a lot of the cohorts what I have interacted with, I feel that because they're not good in English, they are probably not good in explaining, or they don't understand technology. That's not true. I've
mhm.
met many people in my career
Agreed.
who are excellent, even from IIT, okay, and premier institutes. They're very excellent, but they feel that they're not very good in communicating. I don't feel that should be a limiting factor, because the ideas that you have in your mind and the kind of solution that you have in your mind in your problem, feel free to express either in a visual way or in a maybe bilingual way, whatever it is, but
Mm.
don't hold it in your head, because that will affect you negatively in terms of bringing down your confidence. I think that should be very, very first thing you should kill.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the expressiveness is the key. Like, you want to express yourself, just go ahead, express yourself. Don't hold yourself if you are not if you're not good in English, or maybe if you're not good at something. Just try to express. There's the worst that can happen is you'll find a new way. Maybe you'll find a new way to express yourself, right? Uh, you negate a way that you don't want to express. Right? That's the best thing or the worst thing that can happen, right? So don't hold yourself, just go ahead, express yourself uh, as fast as you can, right? So on that note, I think uh, just want to get your expression out. I'll have some quick rapid fire coming your way.
Sure, sure,
Just don't think much. Just quick on your feet, and
sure, sure.
maybe you'll have some amazing insights on through it, right? So here we go. So would you prefer remote working on working from office?
Office.
Okay. Following the market trends or listening to your heart?
Follow the market trends.
Startup or enterprises?
Startup.
It's a tricky one, by the way. Yeah, but we'll discuss on that.
Sure.
Reading or like listening or watching, visual learning. What do you prefer?
Reading.
Hiring a skilled person or hiring a person with correct attitude?
Oh, right attitude for sure. Skill I can groom.
Awesome. Uh, so I'll just on like of these five questions, I'll just pick the second one. Uh, Following the market trends or listening to your heart, right? Uh, Sometimes it's all, I mean, there's always this question, right? That I'm not feeling this is the right thing to do, or correct thing to do, right? So what is your approach in that, and how do you take decisions, Vinod, while maybe picking something, right?
Okay.
Because you mentioned that you follow certain trends or maybe certain pointers. So what is your uh, a decision making methodology or framework that helped you become what you have right now?
Sure. So it all depends in what stage of your journey you are.
Hmm.
Let's say when I'm starting my journey, my heart is at programming, but I join as maybe a fitness coach. Will it work? No, right? And
Yeah.
if I start following all the market trends in how fitness coach can be doing better, maybe that's not the right direction. So I should follow my heart there to explore the opportunities in programming, and then
Hmm.
start following the market trends in the chosen field, right? So that's what I meant. At what journey you are, at what stage you are, that's very, very important. Once you have the preliminary decision made that this is what I want to do, there maybe it is very important to keep up with the changing ecosystem in the chosen field, and there you need to definitely keep a tab on the market trends.
Right. So adaptability is the key, right? You have to be,
Yes, yes,
adaptable enough to kind of see that these are the trends and, these are the things, adaptability with awareness, right? You should be aware of what
yes,
actually trends are, because sometimes, we have touched upon this earlier as well, right? Sometimes what you feel these are trends, these are not just, these are not actually trends, right? So we have to be really
yeah,
aware, talk to right people, talk to right folks to understand that, yes, these should be a possible career path, or these are the possible things that I should pursue, right?
right.
That will help you in your career trajectory, right? uh,
Yeah, because you've already listened to your heart. You're following your
yeah,
passion, and if
yeah.
you want to really excel yourself from every previous day in
Hmm.
that chosen direction, I think it's important to always see what is the latest. It's a knowledge industry after all. A
Absolutely.
lot of new things will keep coming up, so which we'll
Mm.
have to keep pace of it.
Yeah, I think following the heart, a lot of time, your gut or your heart is a outcome of what you do day in and day out, right? What you practice, right?
Yeah,
And if
yeah,
you practice being aware, you practice following people whom you admire or following right people, right? So ultimately, your gut becomes like that, your heart becomes like that. You take decision by seeing data, you take decision by talking to people, right? So these are not actually two different things. This is just one way, a different way of looking at the same thing, right? So on that note, Vinod, I just want to pick your understand, right? Because we are interacting with multiple stakeholders, right? Finance, businesses, customers, your internal team, right? While you were at one of the big fours, right? So just for the sake of our audience to understand, uh, because we have seen now your career trajectory from being a developer, starting up your career, and moving around on service industry, following your domain, understanding your domain, right? Talking to various people, right? So now you are in a space where uh, you are interacting with all the leaders now, and you're also growing in your career, right? So what are your major learning from this aspect of your life where you started interacting with different stakeholders, different kind of people, different genre of people, right? So any learnings from these kind of interactions or this area of your life?
Fine. So, sure. I think it's funny to now look back and
Mhm.
recall how I used to feel when a customer used to give us a requirement. Like, is he really dumb? Why? How is he even? How can he even give us just this much and ask us to build something? So
Mhm.
those are the kind of questions I used to, and I used to be very naive at that time. And
Yeah.
I was fortunate to have right mentors and folks around me to guide me. Uh, uh, what I feel is, now fast forward few years, I feel empathy is one thing which
Mhm.
definitely helps you a long way. That gives you different perspectives from where different people are coming from. That's something which you learn to understand and appreciate better. And at the same time, it's also one more learning that I had is like, not one size fits all, right?
Mhm.
Just because we have um, you know given a solution to a particular customer in the past, the same solution may or may not work necessarily. So that is something that is very, very evident over the period of time. And what remains constant is the experience that you have gained, and the underneath technology and the customers keep changing. But I think the confidence in executing a particular project comes naturally after you continuously you have reflected and carried forward your learnings after every engagement that you've had with your clients. I think that those are few learnings that I feel
Mhm.
stands out in my mind.
No, amazing. I think very well put, really well put. I think sometimes these words, right, empathy and uh, uh, customization or personalization, right? These are, uh, you know, vaguely used in the industry, I feel, because if you go across any customer or every company, they'll have empathy as one of their values, right? And there is a reason why we have, or everyone has put empathy, because this becomes the core of functioning anything, right? Be it country, be it company, be it your home, right? If empathy is and empathy is something that or you cannot teach someone, right? I cannot teach what empathy is. It has to be felt, right? So if I have to, put very vaguely what empathy is, if I can be in someone's shoes and understand what they feel when they articulate something, right? That's what empathy is, and it has to be. Uh, it's that one thing that really is very important when you are, interacting or you are in a business of people, right? Because at the end of the day, it's we are in a business of people. We are talking to people. We are solving their problem. We are solving problem of our own team, right? They're also made of the same thread, right? So empathy is absolutely, I think, you are absolutely spot on, when you bring this up, and whomsoever is listening to us, uh, empathy is something that you don't have to be really. So the difference between empathy and sympathy is, uh, in sympathy you look from your own perspective, right? Your own, what you are, right? But in empathy you really go into their being, their shoes, and think from their perspective, is that yes, this is the problem, this is the thing that we are trying to solve, and now you solve it, being being a software engineer, being a business analyst, being whatever you are, right? So you solve that problem. So yes, empathy is something that everyone looks out for, and if you are high on that quotient, you will, you'll have a very fulfilling career at the end of the day, right? So
Yeah.
again, I'll thank you, Vinod, for bringing that up, right? That part of your life. Uh, Moving ahead, Vinod, I think when we talk about markets, which is again the theme of our conversation, right? We always have to choose correct technology or correct area of work, right? I think for you it was analytics after this, right? While you working with one of the firms, financial firms, you did choose analytics as one of our area of interest, or maybe analytics chose you, right? So you tell me what was the story
Sure.
when you choose analytics, because was it emerging, or was it a conscious choice, or was it the let's try it
Sure.
kind of an attitude, right? So what was
Sure.
that,
Sure.
when you chose analytics? Yeah.
Sure. Sure. So this is again like keeping a tab on the market trends, right? So
Mm,
I was working with one of the large US firms where I was trying to solve origination problems for large US and APAC clients. And that's where we also wanted to, the company wanted to, introduce analytics and try to understand different fraud signals that can be caught, and do any preemptive actions to solve any fraudulent transactions. So that's where I was intrigued. My curiosity in me again tried to explore how this is possible. I mean, how can
mm,
you even preempt before a transaction is happening, right? And that's when I understood huge amounts of data has to be like processed and try to draw parallels from, and unearth the hidden patterns, and then there is a possibility to do that. And it sounded very mathematical and pretty logical, right? And
mhm,
that's where the interest towards analytics actually grew, and did a little bit of study and some hobby stuff, and then also into the projects when I started using the real world use cases, and it was really really exciting. And that actually had a good made a good segue into the startup for the next 5 6 years I was involved with, which was also using a AI powered customer data
mm.
platform, which we were involved with. So that's how my analytics introduction happened, my
Yeah, so
journey.
let's talk about that, because I think you mentioned your startup where you are building custom
Yeah,
data platforms, right? So what was your learnings from there? What was your biggest challenge while you were
sure, sure.
building this up?
Sure. So when we actually started building this, we really wanted to. We started with the approach to build a simple application, a CRM like an application, wherein it's easier to put some contact data, put up a contact database, and help our sales folks to make inbound outbound calls. That was one objective which we started with, and we soon realized that there is nothing different that we're doing, because there is always an existing CRM which is also doing the same. So why are we reinventing the wheel? And then we started to improvise and trying to think, okay, how do these guys even what do they do? I mean, what does a typical enterprise have in the system? So what are the different customer data which is flowing into the companies, right? So that's when we realized that it's just not CRM, it's like multiple other system channels from where the
Mm,
data can be coming in. But it's a mammoth task for us to curate that and leverage from that data. Nobody was harnessing in true sense, and that's where we actually moved towards big data. We
right.
used Hadoop and tried to harness the power of Hadoop, but soon we realized that that may not be a very sustainable solution. And for the fact that the data that we were dealing with, some data was volatile, some was ever changing, and it was not making sense, because Hadoop actually adds a lot of sluggishness in terms of the objective we were trying to achieve. And that's when we had a hybrid approach of moving away from Hadoop and applying analytics, and focusing on the problem and trying to address problems like the churn problems, and the prioritization problem for the funnel and things like that. And we build models around it, and we ensure that the data incoming data is like continuous, but then the intelligence is applied in real time, so that the leverage on the insights is more actionable and meaningful. So that's when we started leveraging the cloud services.
Hmm.
So it was a evolution from a simple three-tier architecture to a cloud architecture, and it was pretty insightful and learning experience.
Yeah, and I think it always is, right? You pick up a problem, and then you see that problem getting solved and getting evolved, and your idea of solving that problem also evolves with it. So it's quite a satisfying, a state of being when you see, the entire evolution. And I think while you were at it, you would have realized that yes, this is the thing. Now when you are speaking after so many years, you realize that yes, that was a good journey to be a part of, right?
Oh yeah,
Consulting with
absolutely.
startups and starting up with something of your own, and then that too amidst a pandemic, right? How did you navigate through this journey, what were your major
Sure.
learnings from this stint? I think it will be interesting too, because this is one, a sudden twist in your entire story. So how was it? And tell me
Sure,
about
sure.
more about this. Yeah.
Sure. So I was fortunate enough to learn a lot from my peers and friends and colleagues in the startup ecosystem. Also, I was in that was in Boston and had good exposure to a lot of startup ecosystem there. And my career had been mostly in the US and the APAC, mostly in the US and EMEA region, right? So I really wanted to do something focused at the Indian segment. So I actually, when I returned, started working more with the Indian ecosystem, startup ecosystem, wherein there were teams solving some interesting stuff. And I was particularly helping some of the retail startups, couple of them, and then I also worked with one of the interesting firms who were into revenue cycle management. So that is when I think an idea came to me during the COVID. That it was just before the COVID that we friends actually were discussing to put up a app which can be enabled with a live video consultation for doctors, which means it's like a Practo, but the Practo didn't have a video consultation at that point in time. We wanted to do something on those lines. And we started our journey, but then the COVID hit us
Yeah.
pretty hard. And that's when we had to actually wrap it up. But then we did, in the stealth mode, we did do a few things, but didn't work out. We did some real good improvements, but things were not at the pace that we wanted. We actually were trying to target the African region
Mm.
with that product first, but the connect that we had actually had backed out for the COVID reasons, so we had to leave that dream there, and we all got back to our corporate life back, and that's how my EV mobility journey happened.
Yeah, so let's talk about more what your EV current stint, right?
Sure,
So
sure.
how is that going? How was that move? Because EV is still, I mean, it's one of the most sought after domain, right? And people are looking EV as the next big thing, which is again very true, right? Because we are looking at
Right.
sustainable living, the ESG sector is booming up, right? So just define how was it, how it's currently going, and where do you see this EV sector heading?
Okay, so I think my experience in EV is too small to comment on the sector per se, but then being a techie at heart, I think what was exciting for me there was to solve the tech challenge, which was to churn the IoT data that was coming out of these scooters onto the cloud. And this data needs to be very well harnessed to understand the behavior of the scooters and how they are performing optimally or suboptimally. and it's like both pre-facto and post-facto analysis of the data, which would further help the respective teams in pivoting from the design, or if there is any corrective actions they need to take so that the customer experience is better,
Right.
right? So I think, in the nutshell, it was the scale at which the data was being handled. That was the kind of amusement I had with dealing with that kind of problem. And also the team was wonderful with which I was working, and the kind of technical challenges we used to face every week was amazing. And the way we used to celebrate after the
Hmm.
challenge was solved, it was really a good experience to cherish. But then, after spending some time there, my passion towards finance, actually BFSI,
Yeah.
actually was a little too strong. And the fact that I also wanted to spend some time in the Indian financial markets for
Oh,
because I mostly my exposure was towards US and Europe
right,
market. So I really wanted to explore that, and that's how Credit Siphon happened.
right.
And yeah.
No, so good. I think it's a good segue, right? Because you mentioned that for you it is a full circle now, right? You started off with say very close BFSI segment in your career now, multiple markets, multiple domains, across globe. You now
Yeah,
you now find a niche in that. Yes, this is something that I want to kind of explore much, keeping myself intact, right? So. Now obviously you are now a leader, and you are managing teams, right? You are making sure that what challenges you have faced while you are growing up in your career, that problem is not faced by folks who are working under you, or maybe who are working with you, right? So what is that how important is for you to preserve that a good workspace culture, right? And
yeah,
for you, what is that good workspace culture? Because
sure.
right now, a lot of our audiences, they uh, even if you and not all audience, but the generation is like that. If you give them a lesser money, they are okay with not getting paid so much, but a work culture becomes very important, right? So in your opinion, what is
Absolutely.
that work culture that you see uh, brings the best out of someone, or makes leaders like you, what you are right now? What is that work culture?
Sure,
Just
sure.
help me with some thoughts of this. Yeah.
Sure. So I think it's a very very important question in today's time, especially when we don't have too much of face time. At a lot of companies, it's even more important to understand your colleagues and your team. And I think a couple of things to be very very mindful is humility is one thing which is very very important, and empathy, as I've been telling
Yeah.
you, right? So these two things, definitely are very important. And I think today's generation is very very smart, right? So you don't have to, I mean, everybody are adults, smart adults. You don't have to be another school principal at work to chase them down for anything. And you don't have to show them a big carrot that you do this and you'll get 10x of your bonus or whatever. That doesn't excite anymore, right? What the young chaps are after is to solve some great problems, and to be recognized, and to be respected for what they are bringing to the table, right? And I think that's where the work culture, if it is conducive enough, if it is enabling people to express their mind without fear, right? When I'm saying express their minds, it's to share whatever they have in their head as an idea, or they're not fearful to express, voice their opinions, right? If we have that kind of a conducive atmosphere, I think the outcome is going to be anyway good. Even if they fail, I think nobody
Mm.
should be judging, right? And I think it's okay to fail and to learn from it and to do better, right? I think it's human is to err is human and to forgive is
Yep,
divine, they
yep.
say, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I think a lot of companies are mindful of that, and I see that a lot of emphasis is given to a positive work culture, given the fact that a lot of places it's hybrid and it's even more difficult to
Mm,
understand. Humans are pretty complex to understand in that way, right? What irks you may not actually irk me, and what makes you happy may not necessarily make me happy, right? So a lot of care and attention needs to be given, and I think work culture definitely can turn any person to a high productive team member, given the right
yeah.
ingredients are in that work culture.
Right. I think well said, Vinod. I think when we're also having a discussion on what to choose, right? Attitude or skill set, right? So work cultures hones your attitude, right? It hones your
Yes.
attitude to learn. It hones your attitude to behave right. It hones your attitude to understand, and and that's why I think uh, it's very important to provide that persuasive environment for people to come in together, work as a group, right? Because an individual, it's like the whole is always greater than the sum of its part, right? So when you are in parts, you behave individually, but when you are as a group, you as a company, country, whatever it is, right? It's always greater being, right? And that's where you have to, those attitude will come into play, right? And well said, I
Yeah.
think. And just help you understand, because this is from a perspective of candidates, because we spoke about from the perspective of work culture and what needs to be there, right? uh, just try to understand from someone who's say 3 or 4 years of experience and who's in giving interviews, right? What what are things that you see while you're hiring folks, right? Because obviously uh, in 2 decades of your experience, you might have hundred of people, thousands of interviews, right? So, what is one thing that you feel that should be there in a candidate while you're hiring, and or maybe you can also point out what are the biggest problem that you feel you face while you are on a hiring you are hiring candidates for maybe your
Sure.
team or your company.
So, yeah, good question. I think the positive attitude is something that's very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, problem solving skills and those things goes without saying. And also integrity is very, very important to me. And I think the humility part, which I said, right? I think that is also very important because that helps you gel with the team and bind with the team, irrespective of how much ever good you are, or you know how much of a junior you are in the team, right, or senior in the team. So I think those two three things are really really important, and I think skill. See, for 2 3 years of experience, I think still in the early stage of the career, right? So a person might have probably learned uh, few one or two skill core technical skills, but that's fine. Whatever you have done, if you're able to articulate and explain in a very crisp way, I think that should be good enough, along with a good articulation skills. That's what says, right? Like whatever you learned, if you're able to convey to the other person, that's good enough, and you have the right attitude to learn more and admit your mistakes and see how you can improve. That should be more than enough for the person to succeed anywhere, for that matter.
Yeah, well said. I think it's very important to be very transparent of what you are. Right? Don't try to, uh,
Yeah,
portray something that you are not. Right? That imposter syndrome that we call, right?
exactly.
Because that will help you in long run, right? It may, if you are pretending to be someone, it may help you in just cracking that interview, but it will not help you in growing in that organization, right? So obviously technical skills are part, because that's something that you can obviously learn and unlearn, right? Because this is an ongoing process of learning technical competencies, right? But when it comes to your behavior or your attitude. Just try to be what you are, and I think that will solve for most part, right? Amazing, I think really amazing insights. I think I want to continue. I don't want to stop, but being limited by time. Although I've got few questions from our audience, I would like to
Sure.
take that up first. So, first question is, where do you see the tech industry heading in next 5, 10 years, and what can an aspiring developers do to position themselves for success in this market?
Well, I'm tech industry is going to be there for a long, long time
Yeah.
because definitely a lot of developments and interesting ones happening around. Definitely AI, generative models, all those things are pretty much keeping a lot of innovations to happen in the coming days.
Mhm.
Definitely, every sector is also opening up. Traditionally very conservative sectors are also opening up for new innovations in technology, and it will be
Right.
interesting to see how we adopt that. And I'm pretty thrilled to see the way. At least in the BFSI, if I have to see the way NPCI is coming up with new innovations and how other companies are trying to leverage that. So it's all tech based, and I'm really really happy to say that a lot of banks and financial institutions overseas are I mean Indian financial industry is way better than the overseas financial institutions
Yeah.
and other banks in terms of adopting technology.
Mhm.
So I don't think that trend would stop anytime soon. It would still continue. I think the new tech adoption is something which is definitely going to be very exciting in the next few years.
Any other domain to watch out for apart from BFSI, in your opinion? Because obviously
BFSI
BFSI is
is
something that's India is leapfrogging with UPI and all these things, right? So any other domain for our listeners that they should be kind of studying or understanding in future?
so domain wise. I feel BFSI is definitely would be a good space, and
Mhm.
I feel EV and mobility is going to be one interesting thing, and logistics is also another. A lot of action might happen there is what I feel. But in terms of adopting technology, like a lot of already drone deliveries are being
Yeah.
discussed about, and innovative ways to tap that potential is still there.
Yeah, obviously, I think sustainable markets or sustainable way of generating things is something that I've been hearing. It's
Yeah,
it's coming up, right? People are putting a lot of products are being launched to maybe develop something in a more sustainable way, right? So I think
right.
that's another space that is kind of moving up, right? One more question I'll take. Oh, interesting. So I think this kind of summarizes our conversation, because we have
Sure,
been
sure.
talking a lot that we have to be choose right people, choose right mentors, right? So there's a question: have there been mentors or role models who have played a significant role in your career development? Or do you have any advice for developers seeking mentors? What kind of mentors, or where should they go for mentors, right? So yeah, this is the
Sure.
question about your mentor, and obviously what they should do when they are seeking mentors.
Sure, sure. No, no, I've been very fortunate to have few very good mentors in my career, and I have learned a lot from them, thanks to all of them. But then, uh, to answer to your second part of question, how do I advise the new developers to seek mentors? I think it's all about. I mean, if they're freshers, definitely, your immediate seniors who have started their career can be a easy access for you guys to talk to them and understand how things are being done. And if you've just started your career, try to communicate with your not only with your peers, but with your managers and your architects around in the company. Try to connect with them, and if you're attending a lot of communities like meetups or any hackathons or any communities that is events that recruits conducting. Those kind of events are the place where you will have access to a greater industry leaders and people who are experienced in the tech industry, right? So maybe it's all about networking, right?
Yeah.
So in the initial days, I think you'll not find the mentor day one. It is a process, but then I think these are all things that probably one should definitely do until they find a good mentor.
Awesome. I think, you spoke about you being fortunate to have a lot of mentors in your career. I must say that we are fortunate to have you today on this panel to, bring insight about your life, to bring insight about what people should be doing, what developers of software engineers should be doing in their life uh, to become successful, right? And then we talked on variety of things. I think I'm really overwhelmed by the conversation that we had, Vinod. So I really thank you from the bottom of my heart for agreeing to share such amazing insights and amazing stories of your life. And I hope our audience who has been with us for so long, they did find this conversation insightful. And by the look of the kind of question that we have, I had one more question, but I think we are short of time, so we'll not take that up. But certainly, uh, uh, again, I can't thank you enough, for doing this. And any parting thoughts, any advice, anything that you would like to give to our audience? Over to you.
Thank you. Pleasure is mine, Amitesh. And I think as a parting note, definitely a lot of exciting stuff awaiting in the tech industry. People have just started the journey in their careers. Wish you all the best, and feel free to connect with me for any discussions that you want to have, any chats. More than happy to help you all. And again, wish you all the best in your career journey.
Yep. Yep. Thank you. Thank you once again, Vinod, and thank you everyone who has tuned in. And yeah, see you in another episode of Beyond Code. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.